Alright, hello guys. Today I'll be just talking about some top lane for Alex. So this will be a top lane focused kind of a quote-unquote VOD review, but yes, the rest of you guys might find it somewhat helpful. So let's get into the game. So honestly, right away, this level 1 itself was actually pretty bad for top lane. So if we speed it up,
Minions have spawned.
notice their Jack's made it to lane first. Not only he's going to be losing a lot of EXP and gold, but he also has to blow flash. And not only that, he actually dies here. And that just, honestly, fucking Phoenix just trolled there. But whatever. But let's move on. So here the top lane's about to start. Focus on top lane right now. Oh, sorry. Let's watch. So let's look at the state of lane right now. At this point, Jax is ahead of Jayce and Golden Experience of 3 melee minions. That means Jax is gonna hit level 2. Like Jayce is gonna be stuck at level 1 even with this next incoming wave. He's gonna probably ding 2 on like the next wave. I'm not exactly sure on the exact figures, like as in like how much XP is exactly needed, but it's very likely these waves would not be enough for him to ding 2, or this wave would barely be enough for him to ding 2. So as the Jayce player at this point, you just wanna like play back and like you really just wanna like play safe and let it bounce back, because once Jax dings level 2 and he has a minion lead, and that's something I'll talk about in a little bit. With a minion lead, he can actually fight you pretty aggressively. So if you notice the state of the lane right now, he has a caster advantage. Jax has a caster advantage over Jayce temporarily, but as you can see, the Jayce is probably going to walk up and clear out some of these minions. So in that case, Jax isn't going to be exactly pushing into Jayce. However, because Jax has going to be hitting level 2 first, he has the potential to thin out the wave and hit level 2 first. So let's see what happens. I haven't exactly watched this yet. I'm just gonna like comment along as we go through. So right away, like the Q there was absolutely like pointless and definitely seems like in autopilot. So like Alex, when you're in lane, you really have to think about, why am I doing this? What like every single action must have a reason, because with that action, not only did you like waste mana there, but you're also like letting the wave shove out. And in my opinion, right now, trying to shove the wave out is not the best idea. You really wanna maintain the wave either in the middle of the lane or like close to your tower. Normally, you do want to shove out, yes. However, because you've already fallen behind on EXP, like that is a pretty risky thing to do. And the correct move for Jax right now would be to actually try to thin out the wave and use his level 2 advantage on you. So, but let's just keep on going. But overall, all in all, don't autopilot. Everything you do needs to have a purpose. Oops. On you. So right there is an example of his level 2 advantage. So at this point, for you to leave lane and put a ward here, this was a really bad idea. Like look at this. hit level 2 and you just engage on it. Let's go back a little bit. So if you look at your experience bar, you're still stuck here at level 1. While Jax, he's almost going to ding 2. So when he dings 2, you can bet that he's going to look to abuse his advantage. And that's when you really want to use your own minions as protection. However, like in this move, by like a few seconds, by leaving lane here, like you're exposing yourself, you're leaving your own minions right as Jax hits 2, and that's a really bad idea. So from your perspective, I understand that you probably want to get a ward down to avoid a possible gank. However, sometimes it's just not feasible. Like for example, in this situation, it puts you in more danger than it puts you in danger just by warding, because Jax now has a clear window to engage onto you without all these minions aggroing onto him. So, and I know I've emphasized the importance of warding and stuff, but also realize that I mentioned warding when you have lane priority. I wouldn't exactly call this lane priority, since if we look at the minions, you do have a 1 caster lead over him, but he has a 1 melee lead. Wait, sorry, no, that's a melee. No. You don't actually have any lead over him, so the ward here seems to be placed purely out of fear rather than a logically made decision. So again, this really goes back to what I said earlier. When you're thinking about doing a move, when you're doing something, you need to think about the reasoning why and the potential consequences. So it seems like here, yep, jumps on you. That's a really good trade onto you, and like that Q there was totally unnecessary, because your Q level 1 does like, yeah, your Q level 1 does like 60, like 70 damage, and look what happens. You Q him and he's got literally 2 extra autos on you. And okay, and that's another like idea that theoretically would work, but just poorly executed. Let's back off a little. So you backed off, right? And then now you're trying. Now I see what you. So like now he's retreating, so you want to get some poke back onto him. However, this is when knowledge of top lane really comes into play, because you realize that Jax's Q has a 10-second cooldown. See that? It only has a 10-second cooldown at level 1. And in an extended trade like this, it's obvious, it's very clear that it's going to be coming up. So, like, I understand I understand what you're doing here. What you should have done was just wait for your minion, walk out with your minions. Like, even if it was a different champion, let's say if instead of Jax it was someone like a Darius, let's say you were over here, he pulled you, he got a big chunk on you, you're this low, he's that healthy, and then as he's running away, let's say you're trying to chase him for autos. Even if it's another champion, it's still a bad idea. You know why? Because you don't have your flash, nor do you have your TP. Jax is both, and he knows this. Okay? You have to expect your enemy to know when your summoners are down. Because I can almost guarantee you, Jax wouldn't be playing not as aggressively if he knew your flash was like down. If he knew your flash was up, he would not be playing this aggressively. Or if your TP was up, he wouldn't be playing this aggressively. He knows that any damage he gets on you is gonna last for a while, because you can't back and TP back to lane. Okay? So that's just more things to think about when you're going for these short trades. Alright, so at that point, I think the best move you possibly could have done here is actually to just back. But let me just see what happens. just play through a little bit. So here's your solo kills. Alright. So the move, so I guess you probably realized later, but the move to back there was probably the best play you could have made. So you and here's why. So first of all, the play you decided to make was like the worst of all of the three options available. So the first option is to back. The second option is to stay basically stay beside your tower and hope that wait for the wave to crash into you. And finally, the third option which is the worst, was to try and walk up and contest the wave, in which case you just got flashed on by Jax and just died. So let's just go back a little bit. So I want you to look at the position and look at the wave right now. So obviously it's gonna push into you. Alright, so it's very obvious. So they have so Jax has a two caster lead over you, and the wave is wave is slightly pushed beyond the midpoint, so it will slow push into you. However, think about some other scenarios. This is not a Darius. This is not a Renekton. This is a Jax. He only has one AoE ability, which is his E, which has a 16-second cooldown. There is no way he'll be able to hard shove this in time for you to miss all these minions. In addition, there are even cannon minions here. That further slows down a possible push and crash into tower. So what's going to happen is if you back here immediately, let me see how much gold you have. So the point. So you have about 150 gold here. Not too shabby. So 150 gold. If you back here, and if you buy get a refillable potion and then walk back to lane, and that at around that time, Jax will probably be close to ding level 3. But what's also going to happen is there's going to be a huge wave building at your tower. Because there's no way Jax can push this wave out before this wave comes to you. And then once this wave arrives and stops the incoming big wave, probably around here, Jax's incoming minion wave will also pile up. So you're going to come back to the lane with a huge amount of minions. And in the end, after farming everything, he'll likely only be around half a level above you, which is honestly not that big of a deal. So the best choice here would have been to back. But however, let's assume that what if there's another situation? Let's say this cannon wasn't here. Let's say the wave was going to hard shove into your tower. What's the best play to make? In that case, I would honestly argue that it's still probably the best play you can make would honestly be to still back. However, because you have Nocturne here, because Nocturne's here, what you could potentially do is, if the wave is going to be crashing fast enough, you could ask your Nocturne to come back you up. And by back up, I don't mean a gank. I don't mean he needs to gank you. What I mean is Nocturne can maybe farm this and stick around. So if Jax tries to dive you, you can get a counter kill and hopefully get some EXP and gold back. Or another riskier scenario would involve Nocturne actually walking into your lane, and thus basically his presence will obviously leash some EXP, but if he actually stays here, walks here, shows himself, it'll help you pick up all this CS without the threat of a dive. Of course, that would obviously cause issues on the rest of the map, because now that you show yourself top lane, that opens up Jarvan to, take this and take that, especially with how your bot lane has no control right now. That would be pretty bad. So that again, that is just an option, but overall, like all things considered, given your current situation, the best play would have been to back. So let's just fast forward a little bit. Flash shot, done. So look at this. Look at this. Your next wave arrived. Or let's just go back to top lane actually. Let's look at the wave, how the wave happened. Let's just focus on Jackson. So you died. Look how slowly you shoved the wave. Look how much the cannon delayed the overall shove. So by the time Jax fully clears his wave out, your next wave has arrived, but instead of crashing on the tower, this wave crashed like at this point, like in front of the tower. So this means this next wave here will be crashing, will like meet up with this wave before this wave hits the tower. So you would be like at this point, regardless of whether you died. If you didn't die and just backed, you'd still probably be about here right now. So imagine if you hadn't died. This is what would happen. Look at this huge wave. So you're gonna pick up all this CS. And let's see your levels. So you're almost level 3, and I believe Jax is. So you're about at this point you're about one level down, and CS wise you are about 8 CS down. Gold wise, so think about it. If Jax didn't get the kill on you, he would not have this extra 300 gold. So he'd only be up in gold by probably around 100, 120, 130-ish. And in terms of level, he'd probably only be like around here. So he would actually only be half a level on you. But because you greeted and stayed for that, he's now a full level on you. So now's the time you want to like slightly adjust your game plan. So because Jayce is a lane bully, you can still poke out Jax right now. However, you can only do so while like with the protection of a minion wave. So personally, I would say confidently that at this point your lane has been lost. Like you lost your summoners. You lane like a lane you're supposed to win got a free kill on you. So right now the most you can do is salvage. You poke Jax whenever you can. Try to look for opportunities to come back, but never play too aggressively. Okay? Only poke him when you have a minion wave. So let's just see what happens. Yo, this I like. I don't know if you realize what you're doing, but last hitting here is a really good idea. What happens is because the wave is closer to your tower than their tower, your minion wave is going to come before their minion wave. So what that means is you're going to be building a very slight slow push, since these minions will damage these minions before these minions come as reinforcement. So by building a big wave, what you can do is you can fully crash it into Jax's tower, and that's when you have lane priority, and you can use that to hopefully get some vision around, or poke him out, or just trade with him, or look for opportunities to come back, that sort of thing. Let's fast forward. This is really good. Just slow it down. Correct the camera. Give me a second. Focus on you. So at this point, the wave is pushing into you, and some pretty standard play. So it's pushing in, and you are trying to harass Jax. So here, Jax is playing it pretty aggressively, since at this point he knows he should know he can't fight you. Alright, so let's see what you do here. Get a ward. You're gonna take him on your tower. So this is good. So right now you're in a really good spot. Well, other than taking a tower shot, which is pretty bad for you. Had you not taken that tower shot though, this would have been a really good position for you to be holding. You have all these minions here protecting you, so and you can just relentlessly poke Jax. And if he tries to fight you in the middle of this huge wave, you'll probably win the trade. The only problem is you did tank that tower shot, so like that did kind of make things a little awkward for you. But honestly though, so let me just back to the point. So at this point he's gonna jump into the trade. It's honestly hard to say whether or not you should or shouldn't have pushed him away. If you hadn't tanked that tower shot earlier, what you could have done is you should have just let him hit you right there, because look at the position. If you like fight him, these minions are going to be turning on him, as well as his upcoming wave is also going to be turning on him. And with the health lead you had before, you definitely could have won that trade. But in this case, like, because you took that tower shot, now you're forced to like E him away, because it's now unclear whether or not you're gonna win the trade, even with all these minions around. So now the wave I hate it when that happens. But now the wave is pushing into you, so you're taking a safe position in lane, which is good. So again, this is like playing way too aggressively here. Like, you know he has a minion lead here, so he's going to be looking for opportunities to engage. So you should not be in range of him to jump on you like that. And now you just like blew more of your mana pool, and now you're forced to back. Look how big the wave is, and you're forced to back. And like even Jarvan saw the opportunity to be ganking, and like he even pushed in. So all in all, had you like, if you didn't take that really bad trade there, there's a chance that you probably could have stayed in. You probably could have been able to stay in lane, or at least you probably could have hovered like back here. Cause notice that neither of them have flash. So if you're protected by a wave here, and if you play further back enough, even though you might not get the gold, you'll at least get the EXP. But because you took that such a bad trade, now you have to back, and now you're actually losing so many minions. But honestly, I do also want to go back a bit and just check on like your mana bar. So just go back. So right now, I just want to see the mana bar, because later on it appeared to be really low. It appeared to be low in mana for some reason. Okay. So that trade right there, that took out a big chunk of your mana. And honestly, that was a very, very pointless trade. Because think about what you got. Because as Jayce, your goal is to poke him. You don't win all-in trades. Like, at least in your current state now, you don't win all-in trades. So you didn't get any autos off. You just got 2 abilities off: a Q and an E. And look how much that chunked him. It barely chunked him for like 100 damage. Well, look at yourself. You just lost like maybe 100 mana for that. And some good standard play here. I don't think the double E here was entirely necessary, because you already had minions focus firing them, so the W doesn't really come in. You don't need a W damage. But like, look at your mana right now. You're at half mana, and a lot of the mana you lost was because, and you even lost like some additional mana when earlier you were queuing. You queued the Jax, and yeah. So honestly, when you're trying to harass, at this point, it's not really worth using mana to harass Jax, because like if inevitably this wave is gonna shove into his tower, and then it's gonna be pushing back, and like you're not getting any meaningful damage by trying to Q Jax or E Jax, simply because of how like low their base damage is. Their base damage is early on. Like your E does 8% of max health plus 27. Your Q at this point does like only 100, and look at Jax's items. He has a pretty good amount of sustain. So you're not going to be chunking Jax out with those. What you should be looking to chunk Jax out is with continuous poke from auto attacks. Let's just go back a little bit. Maybe for 12. So at this point, you decide to go in. If you instead of like queuing, if you swap to your cannon form and autoed instead, that would have dealt about the same amount of damage as your Q, but you would have saved a lot more mana. Like, maybe you would have. There's a chance you would have dodged it. Sure, there was a chance you could have dodged the auto attack, but still, it still means he blows a really crucial cooldown, and that's going to zone him pretty hard for quite a while until his ease comes back up. And I know you might be thinking, what if he jumps on me? I know, so I think you might have E'd because you're afraid he's going to jump on you. But also keep in mind that you have such a big wave here, so like you don't need to. Like, even if he jumps on you, there's a very good chance you'll still win the trade, simply because of how many minions you have here. But my overall point here, I guess, is to like, at this point, your abilities aren't gonna get much chunk on him at all. Like, once you like see this, once you see like how little damage your abilities are doing to him, you should just like realize, okay, I should just focus on farming and autoing him. I need to save mana for possible like big fights for all-ins. So this would be a case where this would be a Q where like you should realize, all right, I don't want to use abilities on him anymore until the time is right. When you go forward though, so this would be a really good time to use abilities on him, because like first of all you can combo them with auto attacks for more damage, and also like Jax is under tower, so you can't exactly fight back, and if he uses E to like mitigate some damage, he's gonna take a lot of damage in return from your auto attacks. But look at the consequence of before. Now he's in a perfect position to get poked out, but now look at how low your mana is. You can't effectively poke him out anymore simply because of how low your mana was from before. To back off because you're too low. They're gonna die to you. I think I already mentioned that. So now here's another big mistake. Like, why are you leaving lane? Jayce is a champion that really depends on mana. So here you're leaving lane with like that 60% mana. So like, I get you want to regenerate some of it on the way, but it's not worth it. Like, you really need that. You generally want to have the mana to be able to CS. Actually, never mind that point. Never mind that point. I guess you can regenerate some mana from auto attacking. So never mind this point then. So I'm just gonna watch a little bit more. By this point, you're basically fucked.
Double kill.
So again, here's another example where you overstayed. So like, look at like, so this is probably one of the last ones I'm gonna make. So look how little minions you have here. You only have 3 casters helping you, and like I realize that you have a wave coming up to you, but at this very moment, if we just draw a circle around here, he has the minion advantage. He has 7 minions, you have 3. You should not be up this far at all. So he sees the opportunity, jumps in, and then because I believe he has a phage, he just kills you. Now you're done. Your lane's lost completely. There's nothing you can do about that now. So if you go back up here, let's see what you could have done before. So here you're shoving the wave in, which is good. It's not going to shove all the wave in. So right now, you should realize that the wave is not big enough for you to stand it. So instead of standing here, what you should be doing is you should be walking with these minions. Okay, but notice how these 3 casters are, at least I'm not, sorry, I'm just gonna, so like these 2 casters are outside of tower range. So when this wave crashes in, you're gonna have a minion advantage. With a minion advantage, there's a chance, like, depending on how much damage you do at this point, there's a chance that you could walk up with them. And I don't think you'd be able to fight Jayce at the point, but at least you could fully shove this wave out. But instead, you overstayed too far, you got jumped on, and with the phage, it just kills you. Anyways, that's all I'm gonna talk about for this early lane. So the takeaways are, you gotta recognize when the wave is not on your side, and you have to play to your minion waves. Okay? Second point is, when you realize your abilities aren't as effective as they should be, you really should just use poke with autos instead. Because you poke with autos, you either get free damage, or you bait out Jayce's E, which lets you get damage in the future. And finally, like, don't greed for CS. If you're low and diveable, just back. Anyways, this was a little review for top lane I did, and Alex, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. And if the rest of you guys are watching, have any questions, also let me know. And I will sign off at that.